Welcome to Alaska Weather, a production of Alaska Public Media and the National Weather Service, Alaska Region. Produced and broadcast daily from the studios of KAKM, Alaska Weather provides complete forecasts, public, marine, and aviation for all of Alaska. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
Indie Alaska is an innovative weekly web series capturing the diverse and colorful lifestyle of Alaskans. Real stories of everyday Alaskans at work and play. Supported in part by Alyeska Pipeline Service Company.
The National Weather Service.
Hello everyone, and thanks again for joining us for today's edition of Alaska Weather. On the satellite, you can see a lot of storm-free conditions out here over the Gulf, right up into the interior. There is a band of moisture here from northwest Canada back out across the central and northern southeast coast. There was a narrow band of rain, occasionally moderate, over the northern areas, but down to the south, that's scattered out to a few showers and some partly sunny skies. And sunshine from Yakutat right up into the interior, south central Alaska on down to Kodiak Island, Bristol Bay again. Sun keeps on shining there. And a few clouds, but not too bad up across Yukon or the Kuskokwim Delta. A few more clouds up here over the Yukon Delta. This area cloudiness, just low type clouds with some drizzle and fog scattered around there. And then a front coming across the eastern Arctic coast, extending back looks like right toward Kotzebue there. And colder air with this band of clouds turning the precipitation back over to snow. Mixed rain and snow showers down the coastline there, but mostly rain in the observations occurring off to the east. Light rain, amounts not all that heavy. Out to the west here, there's low pressure just south of the eastern Aleutians. The big cloud shield here shifting eastward, but this low down to the south is going to move slower and actually deepen. This area of clouds here associated with an upper level trough, and it's shifting southward slowly. A little over half an inch of rain fell at St. Paul in a 24-hour period, ending at 4 p.m. this afternoon, and that coming southward, mostly west of Falls Pass, just clouds off to the east here. But it looks like this will strengthen, and you'll be going into gale force winds here for the Alaska Peninsula and the eastern Aleutians, Alaska Peninsula later this evening, and for the eastern Aleutians, looks like northerlies, 35 knots after midnight. Otherwise, stays fair here over the southeast interior, or over the southern interior, as well as the northern areas. It looks like most of this will stay off to the north. You can see as it slides off to the east there. Pretty brisk winds. Saw gusts 35, 6 or 7 miles an hour at Deadhorse this afternoon out of the west as that pushed on through, lightening up back to the west there down to 15 knots. So that'll eventually be dropping off there as it pulls off to the east later tonight. And then you can see this mostly just temperature and not so much clouds. That's clouds this afternoon hung up there over the west of the western Alaska Range and the Kuskokwim Valley, and a few scattered areas of cloudiness, but all precipitation free. And again, extending right down into the Gulf of Alaska and over to east of Yakutat. On the chart today, the analysis at about midday today had that clouds and the showers there and some breaks in the clouds, partly sunny conditions. A lot of temperatures warm into the 60s down over the southern panhandle, and again, very nice Kodiak Island right back into Bristol Bay and up to the northeast. Got into the rain there over the Pribilof Islands, but it was becoming more intermittent this afternoon out in that area. And again, a little over half an inch falling, and that extending down across the eastern Aleutians here with that low center to the south. Rain mostly, again, appeared to be west of the Falls Pass area. They could be getting a little bit there, but nothing at Cold Bay, and you get into the sunshine off to the east. Also breaking out the sunshine, or at least partly sunny skies, Atka to Adak, and back into the clouds towards Shemya. And for tonight, we'll see most of this moisture sliding off to the east there into the Mackenzie River Delta, but some lingering light snow or snow showers trailing on behind, but high pressure in over the area, so those winds lightening up And in fact, you'll see a reversal in the wind there from the northwest you're currently seeing as this high pulls back later tonight southeast. That may result in a few breaks in the clouds. Definitely an end to the precipitation. High pressure over the Bering Strait. Some low stuff here and a little moisture, St. Lawrence Island, and maybe off to the south. The next system here moving eastward, but shouldn't affect the western or northwest coast until sometime tomorrow. And then lots of high pressure farther over the western Bering Sea down to the Aleutians. Fair skies here, light winds over the interior, and just some cloudiness up here over the Brooks Range and North Slope. But this band here pulling back to the northwest, so it'll be drying out from southeast to northwest, and watch for the clouds to increase over Yakutat late tonight. But I think any precipitation will stay east of the area there, and then just some widely scattered showers elsewhere. And then we'll see the storm down here for tomorrow after the gales kick in tonight, northerlies for the eastern Aleutians, and that'll continue through tomorrow and actually through tomorrow night with the gale force winds here mostly on the Pacific side of the Alaska Peninsula, up to 35 knots continuing tonight, and probably at least into a portion of the day tomorrow. But don't look for a lot of wind to reach Kodiak Island there, but there's a chance of rain up over the southern areas late tonight. Cloudiness increasing to the north, but clear skies. Southern Alaska, light winds, again, all the way up into the interior. Could see some tomorrow. You'll see some low clouds and fog, but all the moisture now will be pushed off to the east there. Winds lighter here along the central and eastern Arctic coast. And not a bad day, variable clouds, but dry for the most part here over the Panhandle. It looks like that band of moisture will shift westward and northwest, probably right on top of Yakutat for kind of a cloudy, rainy day in that area, with better conditions to the southeast and a lot sunnier conditions off to the west. But it wouldn't take much of a westward or eastward shift to that band to maybe bring not so wet conditions in around Yakutat. And again, look for the rain to increase there, southern Kodiak Island late tomorrow afternoon. High pressure, Kotzebue Sound, and that extends all the way down across the Bering Sea into the central and western Aleutians. So that's at least for now keeping all this storminess out to the west, sending it up to the north there. This first one will bring small craft advisories into the Cape Lisburne Point Hope area, in the marine area there, the marine zone, and chance of a little bit of light rain or snow with that, but generally just watch for an increase in the winds. It'll be the biggest change there, and again lighter, as I mentioned there, along the Arctic coast, and a little more variable in the direction. And taking a look at the first day of the weekend, this front pushes rain up to the Panhandle, so it looks like there'll be rain the entire stretch of the coastline there, even coming into the North Gulf Coast, but a little bit of an increase in the winds here, maybe 20-25 knots, possibly along the coast and then back to the west. Wet conditions spreading into Kodiak Island throughout the day, but this area of moisture not making its way too far inland. A few showers developing there, maybe the Wrangell Mountains, Copper River Basin, and possibly Kenai Peninsula over to about the Chugach, but Copper River Basin, say Gulkana, variable clouds, dry conditions there. Another sunny day here over the central eastern Tanana Valley, and that condition will extend all the way up to the eastern Arctic coast there as the next system pushes into the western areas there. Look for gales to develop. I believe they're bringing the Kotzebue Sound zone up to 30 knots, and then gale force winds for the western Arctic coast there to dropping back to about 30 knots at Barrow. So pretty good system coming in. The low center back toward Wrangell Island, and rain and snow with rain down to the southwest here as the warmer air mass slides up ahead of the cold front. The colder air back in this area by late Saturday afternoon, but high pressure keeping it nice along the southwest coast here. Bristol Bay, another sunny day, northerly winds 15 or 10 to 20, gusts 25 miles an hour. Breezy out of the north here along the Alaska Peninsula. Dry conditions again. Eastern Aleutians, lighter winds, maybe some patchy fog, otherwise partly and mostly sunny. And that next storm out there over the western Aleutians, or actually southwest of the western zones there, bringing a chance of rain and probably some small craft advisory east and east-southeasterlies in during the afternoon hours again on Sunday. Temperatures along the southeast coast depended on how much cloudiness there was. You can see where there was obviously more sunshine, mid-60s down over the southern areas, AKwx 64. Same thing at Port Alexander, 10 degrees cooler. We got into more cloudiness and rain there at Sitka, 54, also at Elfin Cove, and 53 at Juneau, 62 degrees there at Skagway. Pretty gusty winds here through Lynn Canal this morning. So Eldwood Rock had a gust to about 45 miles an hour. Otherwise, conditions were more in that 20 to 30 mile per hour range, and there were some higher gusts out here. Cape Spencer had 35 mile an hour gusts, and so there are small craft advisories here for the coastal areas through tonight, and of course lighter winds back over Prince William Sound and south central Alaska, where temperatures range from the mid 50s to as warm as 63 degrees at Valdez and a 43 at Snowshoe Lake, 51 Gulkana. Northway at 44, otherwise 40 to 45 or mid 40s here through the Tanana Valley, back down west of the mountains there across the Kuskokwim Yukon River Valley areas. Up to the north farther, 32 at Anatuvik, 37 Arctic Village, and a 39 at Bettles. Not much different up there along the Arctic coast, mid 30s on the east side, lower 30s here as cooler air coming in behind that front, but still up to 37 at Point Lay, lower 40s here over the northwest coast into Kotzebue Sound. Selawik 39 degrees this afternoon and a 45 at Nome and Tin City, 48 Savunga, same thing at Unalakleet and also at St. Michael with 50-degree readings both at Bethel and over at St. Matthew or at St. Mary's, and 52 at Makoriak. For the Aleutians, lows or high or temperatures this afternoon in the lower to mid 50s there, and 49 on Alaska, 50s for the Alaska Peninsula, right around 50 degrees over the Pribilofs, again with the clouds and rain. For the lows tonight, down into the teens again here on the east side. Eagle had a low of 13 this morning, cold spot in the state, and they may be down to 13 again this morning. And then milder here to the west to mid to upper 30s right along the coast, Nome, and 45 degrees. Pretty mild there for St. Lawrence Island, and otherwise mid to upper 30s on the western Arctic coast to the 20s on the east side, mostly in the 30 to 35 degree range down in south central Alaska. And for the highs tomorrow, upper 20s to lower 30s here with teens forecast for the highs. Colder air coming in again behind that cold front as it pulls off to the east, but not too bad, mostly in the high 30s to upper 40s over the west and southwest interior to 50 to 55 there. Bristol Bay, pretty mild here, but not quite as warm as today. Still pushing up to 60 over the southern southeast coast. And flying weather, really nice. We got VFR showing up even along the Arctic coast there. This stuff may be lingering early on and possibly into the afternoon, but VFR all the way down into the Gulf of Alaska. This will be slipping up and conditions will be lowering mostly over southern Kodiak Island through the day, VFR to the north, and then a swath of VFR right through the central southeast coast. That's just a possibility around Prince of Wales Island there, more likely though down to Dixon Entrance and the Queen Charlotte's, and also an area of IFR to watch for there with that, again, that moisture band slipping back to the northwest there, right around Yakutat in that area. Otherwise, the Bering Sea, really not too bad, especially on the eastern areas and the Aleutians. Just some occasional marginal VFR at times anywhere out there with this IFR batch staying out to the west. Passes, all of them VFR tomorrow. Anatuvik, Adigan, as well as all of the Alaska Range, Lake Clark and Merrill, both approaches VFR, windy, same forecast. Isabel, Mentasta, and Tanita, VFR tomorrow. Portage, good VFR. Chilkoot and White, though, marginal VFR in the pass itself at times. Probably be VFR in those northern entrances with IFR conditions possible off to the west or southwest. And moving on to the freezing levels, 2,000 feet right through this area here and down into, possibly as far south as Northway. Again, with the westerly flow there, that not much of a push to the south, and then some warmer conditions ahead of that next front, or weak front, weak trough coming in tomorrow afternoon. And otherwise, freezing levels range from about 4,000 feet here over southeast interior down to about 8,000 feet over the southern southeast coast, and running about 4,000 to 6,000 feet out over the southern Bering and the Aleutians. Icing threats, not much. Some with that leftover moisture here along the, again, mostly shifting west to Yakutat, but and then watch for some approaching Kodiak Island extending back to the southwest. That's probably the likeliest area you'd run into some rime icing there from 6,000 to 14,000 feet, but icing free for the Aleutians, much of the Bering Sea, all the way up to the Arctic coast. And from there, looking at the winds aloft, Arctic jet now kind of arcing up, ridging as that trough pulls off to the east, another one farther back to the west, so getting into a kind of a in-between condition there. A very weak trough through the western interior, the main stronger upper low here associated with a Pacific jet right in that area there, but the jet mostly to the south of the zone here, so again, staying pretty nice for the North Gulf Coast as well as the Panhandle. And the 9,000-foot winds, a little brisk possibly, 30 knots heading in toward Kodiak Island, east-northeast up to 55 knots, again supporting those gale force winds there for the eastern Aleutians. And then northerlies extending back to the north here up to Nunivak Island, and then under the ridge, kind of reversal in wind direction, 20 knots for Adak, and then 25 knots back to the west. And at 3,000 feet, kind of got a band of easterlies here, 22 as high as 25 knots through that area, and then lighter in this area, picking up 25 knots from the north-northeast, down to 50 knots, even at 3,000 feet here over the eastern Aleutians. And pretty light winds, southern Alaska down in the southeast coast, Kodiak southeast 30, mainly over the southern island there. So with that area winds I mentioned at 3,000 feet there, could be some areas of light to isolated moderate chop up in the central and northeast interior. Otherwise, definitely moderate, possibly isolated severe at times for smaller aircraft of the eastern Aleutians. And after the break, I'll be back with the marine forecasts.
Season Without Giants, or Time of the Quiet Sky.
Greetings, greetings, fellow stargazers. I'm James Albury, director of the Kika Silva Pla Planetarium in Gainesville, Florida.
And I'm Dean Regas, astronomer for the Cincinnati Observatory. If you're one of those people who loves the change of seasons, have you ever wondered whether the sky changes seasons too?
If so, stick with us, because in this episode, we'll let you in on some of the secrets of the seasons and how you can double up your pleasure by not only watching the face of the Earth change season, but also by watching the face of the night sky change as well.
And we'll give you a heads up about a planet-star rendezvous that happens only every other year.
Let's show you.
You see, it all has to do with our Earth's yearly journey in its orbit around the Sun. Because as our Earth orbits the Sun, you'll see a slightly different part of the starry sky each successive evening.
That is, if you go outside every night after sunset for a year and look up. You'll notice that the various constellations slowly but steadily shift their positions in the heavens a little bit westward each night.
A given star pattern will first appear low in the east and then gradually become very prominent and high up in early evening. And then we'll continue that slow shift westward and then completely disappear from the heavens.
Now, when astronomers talk about sky seasons, they mean that the particular star patterns, or constellations, of that season are those that are high above the horizon in early evening hours during a given season.
For instance, in summertime, we know that the Great Summer Triangle and the Giant Scorpion are always very high and dominant in early evening summer skies. And in winter, in early evening, the giant Orion and his dog always ride high and dominate winter's landscape.
Springtime always has its wonderful Leo the Lion and the Big Dipper towering overhead in early evening. But there's one season when the sky becomes quiet, a season when there are fewer bright stars visible than any other time of the year, and, quite appropriately, I think that season is autumn, the season when the Earth too is quieting down. A season of muted sun and muted starlight. A season without celestial giants. The season of the soft sky.
And if you do what I'm about to show you on at least one evening in autumn, every autumn, for the rest of your life, you will add yet another dimension to your enjoyment of the exquisite feelings that autumn brings. Simply go outside any autumn evening just after the sun has gone down, And look for the giant summer scorpion with his bright reddish-orange heart star Antares as they get ready to set low in the southwest.
This year, there's an additional point of light just above Antares. It's the reddish-orange planet Mars, which the Greeks named Ares, their god of war. It's commonly stated that the heart of the scorpion, Antares, was named as the rival of Ares because they appear so much alike in the sky.
Mars passes close to Antares roughly every 2 years because Antares lies just south of the path of the planets. This coming Monday, September 29th, be sure to catch Mars and a crescent moon in line with Antares. Mars will come back to alignment with Antares in August of 2016. And next time, Saturn will be right there to make it even better.
So be sure to get out and watch Antares, Mars, and the moon next week. Watch Antares and Mars set as the evening goes along. Then, in the hours before midnight, you will see for yourself the softest of skies with a minimum of bright stars, a time when you'll be able to delight in the exquisite beauty of the Seven Sisters rising.
Then around midnight, the autumn skies will slowly give way to a preview of winter as Orion, the winter giant, boldly rises in the southeast. How fitting, how poetic that the sky seasons coincidentally match our Earth's, as regular as clockwork.
Yes, every October of your life, summer's Scorpion will set at sunset and winter's Orion will rise at midnight. And the hours in between will be the palettes of a celestial impressionist.
So get outside under the heavens softly and remember to keep looking up.
Ice conditions here, about 120, 130 nautical miles on today's analysis, north of Barrow there. And really not much change expected here, especially over the eastern areas. That big storm that's going to bring the gales into the Arctic coast on the west side on Saturday. That'll be pulling off to the northeast, so winds will be in an unfavorable direction to see any ice push southward, but maybe some over the next 4 or 5 days there forming and would pull the ice edge maybe 10 nautical miles, 10 to 15 southward, mainly of new ice. Moving on to the southeast coast of the Marines, mostly easterly, 15 as high as 20 knots up over the north coast, lighter and more northerly or variable over the inside waters, coming down about 20 knots for Lincoln on Glacier Bay. For Saturday, east or east-northeast, 15 to 20 knots. These could be up around 22 or 3 knots here, possibly Saturday afternoon, but light over the inside waters. And for the south central areas, Cook Inlet, north 10 tomorrow, and northeast light for Prince William Sound. Easterlies roughly at about 20 knots here for the North Gulf Coast, picking up to 25 knots for the Barren Islands. Northerlies as high as 30 knots, at least for a period of time tomorrow for Kodiak Island, the marine zones there. 25 knots for Kamishak Bay. 20 knots at times for central Cook Inlet. And then much lighter winds in store for Saturday. You can see really laying down here across Cook Inlet and Prince William Sound with northeasterlies at 15, becoming more easterly, but really light there for the eastern or for the central Gulf Coast. Northeast winds at about 15 for Kodiak. And for the Bristol Bay tomorrow, small craft advisories, northeast 25 knots. And again, gales developing here for the Alaska Peninsula tonight, and then kind of an east-northeast direction, 30 knots back towards Sitkinak. And for Saturday, coming down here, 20 knots, still a little breezy there for Bristol Bay, north 20 for the peninsula, but northwest 25 knots there on the Pacific side, and windiest area there, Sitkinak over to about Chignik from the north. And out in the Aleutians, again, the gale force winds kicking in right around midnight here from the north, and then continuing through much of the day tomorrow, but diminishing back toward Adak and Atka, swinging around to the south-southeast out to the west. And for Saturday, a lot lighter winds here coming into the eastern Aleutian. You can see northerlies dropping off just 10 to 15 knots there for the Fox Islands, and pretty light for Adak and Atka as well, and then beginning to increase up to 20 knots here to 25 knot easterlies with that main storm center down to the south. For the southwest coast, northeasterlies 25 knots here from Nunivak Island on down toward the Cape Newenham area, and also for the Pribilofs, but south 15 for St. Lawrence Island, and then possible small craft advisory winds depending on that next front out there here for the northern Bering Sea west of St. Matthew Island. And for Saturday, light winds here for St. Lawrence Island, southwest 20 knots there west of St. Matthew Island, a ridge on the east side of that zone, and then northeasterlies 15 to 20 knots here along the southwest coast. Winds down to 15 knots from the north for the Pribilofs. Up along the Arctic coast, winds coming down easterly, give or take there at about 15, and 20-knot winds southeast here, up to 25 knots there for Cape Lismore and Point Hope, south 20 from Tin City there on up to Point Hope. And then for the outlook for Saturday, gales forecast for all of the western areas here, 35 knots to 40 knots here, southeasterlies on the west side, dropping back to about 30 knots at Barrow. That'll be coming up in the afternoon hours. And then for the east side, lighter winds, but still pretty brisk here, 25 to 30 knots out of the east with 7 to 8 foot seas. And for tonight, scattered showers, this narrow band of rain shifting westward, and bare skies over much of the interior there, and those snow showers diminishing on the eastern Arctic coast. This next system bringing wind and a chance of some moisture into the western areas tomorrow for small craft advisory. Begin the gale force winds north here for the eastern Aleutians, more north-northeast or east-northeast for the peninsula where it'll be wetter, but fair over Alaska, the interior, and decreasing chances of rain for the panhandle with more sunshine. And
these forecasts are to be used for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.
It's never too early to set expectations and goals for your child's education. The UA College Savings Plan provides opportunities that can help you reach your educational savings goals. Save in Alaska. Study anywhere. There is more information available by calling 1-888, the number 4, and then Alaska. This message sponsored by the UA College Savings Plan.